What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Conversations with Jacob episode. Today I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. Jake Thorne. A matter of fact, and this is our take 2 of doing this. So, Jake, and welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much, Jacob. I'm glad to be here talking to you, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
All right, yeah, sure. Now, before we get into Jake Thorne or JohnWayne, and what was life before Jake Thorne?
What was life before Jake Thorne?
Yeah.
Oh, it seems like Jake Thorne's been around forever. Well, I'll tell everybody that Jake Thorne is my stage name. I got that name from a movie script that I was going to be in that was never produced, and so it stayed with me. It was a good, strong name. John Wayne's real name was Marion Michael Morrison, and he never liked that, and it wouldn't make a good movie star's name. So when he was making The Big Trail, the director didn't like the name that he was going by, which was Duke Morrison. So he said Duke sounded kind of like a dog. So the director really liked the Revolutionary War and a general called General Mad Anthony Wayne. So he liked Wayne, and Anthony sounded too Italian, so they made it John Wayne. Well, for me, my real name is Dan Hornak. It's kind of hard to pronounce that name, and everybody can misspell it. So I go by Jake Thorne when we're talking about the guy who plays John Wayne, and that's me. That's the guy you're looking at right now. I play John Wayne. I'm not an imitator. I'm not an impersonator. Imitator makes an imitation of somebody, and an impersonator says they are that person. I'm a John Wayne performer, which means I try to tell John Wayne's story in his voice. Uh-oh.
There you are.
I'm back. I must have blinked. It went black for a minute. So anyway, that's how I got the name Jake Thorne. Before Jake Thorne, I was like everybody else. I was a kid a long, long time ago, and I liked westerns. And back when I was growing up, there were 30 or 40 westerns on TV every week, and I didn't know the difference between John Wayne and John Payne. They were both cowboys, but on my 10th birthday, I saw a movie called Angel and a Bad Man, and I thought that was really cool. I recommend everybody out there to try to catch that if it is ever on, or if they have a copy of it. But I like John Wayne so much that my birthday wish was, if there was anything I could do, I wish I could talk like John Wayne. Well, guess what? 10-year-olds don't talk like John Wayne. So that came later. I was tall and skinny as a kid, so was the Duke. Everybody gets picked on one time or another, and the Duke did, and so did I, but we all grow up, and I played football in high school. I ran track, and also boxed. And so, hey, my voice changed too. And so I always thought about my wish, and somewhere along the line, I said something. I recorded it. I was sending a tape to a girlfriend over in Germany. She was an exchange student, so I was sending a tape to her, and I was kind of down because I'd probably never see her again. So I said, sometimes I get depressed when I think about it. And I said to myself when I played the tape, that sounds like John Wayne. And so that was the beginning. That tone and the way, the hesitation, and it just sounded like John Wayne. So that's what I build everything on.
All right.
And,
sorry.
Go ahead.
All right.
No, go ahead.
All right. So, and when did you become a John Wayne fan?
Well, like I said, back when I didn't know who he was, but then he had a distinctive voice. and then I saw that movie Angel and the Bad Man, and I think that's when I became a fan, and been watching John Wayne movies ever since. If you ask me which one is my favorite, I'll say all of them. But you can change your mind, and right now, I guess I'd have to say Rio Bravo is my favorite right now. But ask me next week, I'll tell you something different.
Right. Yeah. My next question is, and have you ever met John Wayne or a family member?
Well, John Wayne's been dead for over 40 years, and I was back in Michigan making a living, and so he got older, and we knew he was sick, and then just one June day, he was gone. It was a shock for everybody, but years later, after I got into being a John Wayne personality, I went out to L.A., and they were having an auction, and his family was there, so I got to meet Ethan first, his youngest daughter, Marissa, and the next day I met Ethan again and Patrick. Now, everybody will remember Patrick more because he was in a lot of John Wayne movies, too. The Duke liked to put his family in there because that way, when he was far away out on a shoot, they'd be right there with him. But they were great guys, and they had a lot of nice things to say about me, and I hope they remember me because I don't think I'm done yet. I think there might be a little more left in Jake Thorne, and I would really like to do something for the family. Hey, talking about wishes, if I could get another wish, I would wish to play the Duke in a story about his life.
Oh yeah.
Now I have played John Wayne trying to make the Alamo in a docudrama called Texas Before the Alamo, and so I have played him a little bit, and I also had my play. I do a one-man show about the life of John Wayne. That was recorded too, and I'd really like to get my hands on that recording so that someday Jacob Waller might be able to show it on YouTube.
Yeah. Next question is, matter of fact, going back to the documentary, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay. Out of the clear blue, just like if somebody called you up tonight, this guy called me up and said, I'm down here in Texas. I'm making a documentary about John Wayne. I'd like you to play John Wayne. And he was a fast talker. I could not get a word in edgewise. And I'm saying to myself, who is this guy? He's talking a mile a minute. I can't even say anything. And I was a little hesitant at first. I said to myself, I don't want to end up in the trunk over in Mexico. I don't know who this guy is. Maybe he hates John Wayne. He just wants to get the best John Wayne performer. But he was legit. And I figured if I go down there and I get pictures, I'll be happy with that. And so I want to stop right here and tell everybody out there who might be listening that if you go on Google, if you Google Jake Thorne with an E at the end of Thorne Productions, it'll show my website. You'll be able to see some of those pictures, and you'll be able to see a little video of me at John Wayne's Alamo doing that documentary. I want to tell everybody, if you ever go down to Texas and see the Alamo in San Antonio, you're going to be surprised because there's a whole bunch of buildings around it, and it's like you're in the middle of downtown somewhere, and it's like a shrine. It's like keep off the grass, that kind of thing. But if you go 2.5 hours away in a place called Bracketville, the movie set where John Wayne shot the Alamo 60 years ago, more than 60 years ago, is still there. And he built an Alamo that is the same size as the Alamo you see in the pictures. And so you kind of think of the Alamo as being a ruin and out in the middle of nowhere, windswept. Well, the real Alamo isn't. But John Wayne's Alamo is out in the middle of nowhere, windswept, cows walking through it. But it's a really great place, and after the sun goes down, you feel like you're in a sacred place. So, anyway, that's it.
Now, with that documentary, did y'all film it at that spot, or did y'all film it somewhere else?
We filmed it at the John Wayne Alamo. It's called Alamo Village because what happened, Jacob, is the Duke always wanted to make the movie about an Alamo. He really believed strongly in it, and that's what he was living for. And somebody once said it was like he was in love with the idea, the way a guy would love a woman. He was in love with this, and he always wanted to do it. So he didn't have a lot of money. He had $1 million, but the Alamo, making the Alamo movie, cost $10 million, and that would be like $100 million today. And so he had to get money. He had to borrow money. And there was a guy who ran a construction company in a place called Bracketville. He had a bunch of land, and this guy, his name was Happy Shahan, and he said, Duke, I will build the Alamo and old San Antonio if after you get done using it, I get to keep it. And that was the deal they made, and it's a really cool place, but it's a ruin right now, and people are worried about it falling apart. It is falling apart, but there is no place you can go where there's still a movie set of a movie that was made 60 years ago. And that's still there because it was made really good. So I encourage everybody to go down there and try to see it.
Now moving on, can you tell us about your one-man show and how that came to be?
Well, how did that come to be? I moved down here from up north. I worked in Washington for 20 years and got the heck out of there. Came down here. I bought a house in Mount Airy on a beautiful setting on the river. And anyway, when I retired from the government, I said, if there's one thing I could do, or actually there's three things I want to do. I want to write, paint, and act. Well, I ended up painting the rooms in this house here. And I did get into a play at the Andy Griffith Theater and played a Civil War general. And then a guy who does plays up in Virginia, in Cana, Virginia. He has a theater up on the side of a mountain, outside theater. Well, he wanted me to play John Wayne in a play about the Blue Ridge Parkway, where I played a park ranger who thought he was John Wayne. So it was a comedy, and he really liked it, and he encouraged me to tell the story. And guess what? You can't find anything like my show. Nobody has done it before. There's nobody in the world who tries to tell John Wayne's life story in his own words as him. And the Duke never put out an autobiography, so this is like an autobiography. I cover everything in 3 acts. So I've had a lot of success. I've done it all over the country. Done it in California in a place called Lone Pine, where they shot over 450 Hollywood movies, starting with the silent era all the way up to Django Unchained and Iron Man and things like that. But I've done it in Borrego Springs, California. I've done it in Michigan, Virginia, Texas. So done it around.
Now, with these one-man shows, how long does it take you to prepare for like every scene that you do?
Well, I'll tell you what, the first time was the hardest because I was deathly scared. But when I went out to Lone Pine the first time, they invited me out there. The guy who was the theater director, he came with me, and he sat in the front row kind of like he was a reporter. He introduced me. It was a full house in this theater. He introduced me, and he sat in the front row. And I had this deal, this was the first time it was performed on stage, but I had done it as a reading, dressed up like the Duke, but I had a script there. So that's you're talking about how long it took me to prepare. It took me years to write it. It took me months to get ready for it, and lots of practice. And then when I did Lone Pine, it was very well received. But this guy was down there. His name's Frank Levering. Anyway, I had this code where if I did this, that meant I forgot my line. So I was talking about John Wayne's second wife. Her name was Chada, and I said Chada was sensual and could keep up with the Duke drinking, and ours was the most, and I couldn't think of the word. So I said ours was the most, and he said passionate, and I said yeah, ours was the most passionate. So he got me through it, and I came back and did it in Danbury, and did it in Mount Airy, and went on up to Michigan and did it there too. So it's, you want to try to do the best you can. You want the best show, but what is really challenging is when something happens that you have to get back on track. So originally it was to do it perfectly. Now I just do the best I can, and if something happens, I go with the flow. I was doing it outside up there on the side of the mountain, and a bat flew by. I just kind of brushed it away. And I had a table where I had a chessboard, and I was talking about how powerful a queen is and everything, and I put that piece down there, and the table came apart right there in the middle of the play. What do you do then? So I just grabbed it and set it back up, and I said, boy, that must be a powerful queen. You just go with the flow. Stay in character, all right?
Yeah, there you go. Now, with you performing as John Wayne, and how much do you know about him?
Years and years. I got a mess of books. I've got a lot of his tapes, maybe 80 or 90% of the movies he made. He made over 150, and he was in over 200. There was nobody who worked as hard as the Duke, and so I've read everything I could a couple times, and I found a really good book, and so I got a lot of the information that I have for John Wayne from that book, and I didn't plagiarize it. In other words, I didn't copy anything, but I paraphrased it and I worked with it. One thing that I don't know if you know, Jacob, Stalin, who was the premier of Russia, wanted John Wayne killed, and he sent hitmen to kill him. And I talked about play, and it not just once. There were several times when they were going to try to kill him. And also when he was in Vietnam, there was a sniper who tried to get him too, but the Marines caught him when he was in Vietnam. So there's a lot of things that people don't know, and I'll tell you what my goal is with the play, with the show, and that is two things. Number one, everybody has their own opinion of the Duke. Well, when you see my play, it'll change your opinion of the Duke. And number two, you will feel closer to him. You will know him better, and that's what I try to do with my play. And nobody else in the world is doing it. There are other John Wayne impersonators, other John Wayne personalities, but I'll be glad to take my hat off and sit down when I see somebody who's better than me.
So, do you think that you're the best one out there?
Well, Jacob, if it's true, it ain't bragging. I haven't seen anybody better than me. And let me tell you what I got, okay? Who the heck is Jake Thorne, and what has he got? What gives me the right to play John Wayne? Well, I've been doing it for a long, long time. I know the family. My best friend, my sidekick, was in a John Wayne movie that made him a hero. So he kept me straight. He spent 5 weeks 12 hours a day, 7 days a week with the Duke, and so he ought to know something about that. I've got pictures, and I want to write a book about him. But I'm 6'4.5". The Duke was 6'4". I got a voice. I was blessed with this voice, and I got the desire to try to keep the Duke's legend alive. That's my motto: keeping the legend alive. And I still got my hair, and I weigh 241 right now. So that's right about where he was. I was in Lone Pine, there was a saloon called Jake's Saloon. You and I ought to go there and get a drink there because, hey, Jake, that fits. Anyway, there was this guy who walked up to me after I did my show, and picture this cowboy bar. There were horses tied up front. That's how cowboy it was. And every music's playing and everybody's having a good time. And this guy who was kind of drunk walked up to me, and I was still in costume, and he said, "You look like John Wayne." And I said, "Thanks." And he said, "Not old John Wayne. You look like Red River John Wayne." So I said, "Thanks again." I've been trying to stay the same age because, Jacob, there's 3 acts in the play. The first one's 1938. That's when the Duke was 27 years old. And then 1958, when the Duke was 47 years old. And then 78, when he was, it was the last year of his life. He was 79. Just before he died, he had his 79th birthday. He was 78 then. So how do you cover 40 years? How do I change 40 years? Well, I change costumes. I talk different. You know, in the beginning, the John Wayne movies in the beginning, his voice is different, you know, and then he aged. And then Rio Bravo, 1958, he was full-blown John Wayne. And then 1978, he was old John Wayne. And so I try to change my voice. I change my costume. Sometimes I try to change my makeup, but it's all hard to do. I walk slower. I walk differently. When he was young, he had more bounce in his step, and when he was old, he was pretty slow. And so it's not just makeup; it's everything together.
Now, do you got a favorite part that you like to do? Like in your one-man show, is there a favorite part that you like?
Oh, that's a good question. You're asking all the hard questions. Well, I guess that's what you're getting paid for, and that's why you're on YouTube, right, Jacob?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like his movies. There's parts through the play that I like, and I'll tell you what, it's not serious all the time. There's a lot of funny parts to it. All of our lives are filled with ups and downs, with sad things and good things and funny things. So I guess I'd have to say there are good parts that I really enjoy in each act. The last act, he's at home. It's at night. I'm in an easy chair and I start snoring. So I get to start the last act like in the dark. The lights come up and I'm there with my feet up and I'm just snoring away, and then all of a sudden I start coughing really bad, and then I say, "I haven't been in a very good mood lately." That's old John Wayne. In the beginning, come out on stage. The first act is out in the desert during a shoot out there before dawn, and I walk out there and say something like, "Desert in October is a mite cold. I've been doing these here horse operas since 1928, almost 10 years. Don't ask me how many. Seems like 100. I've been able to keep my wife and kids fed, my head above water, but that's about it. So those are the changes. Okay. So anyway, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And and that's all the questions and that I've had. But questions are coming in and through our YouTube chat. Someone says, hang on, let's see. This question is, and do you own any John Wayne's personal items?
Well, that's a real good question. I went to his auction when they were selling 750 lots, not 750 items. They were auctioning off 750 lots, which is groupings of things. But you want to know something? You couldn't touch them. There were people from overseas bidding. They had his driver's license. That went for about $70,000. They had his Green Beret. That went for about $120,000. So, sad to say, no, I don't. I have a lot of reproductions and things that cost a lot of money, but I'm going to get my hands on an autograph. That's about as good as I can get right now. But when I was at that auction, we went to the preview, and guess what? Picture a museum with nothing but John Wayne stuff, and you know what? You could touch it. He had a coat that he wore in one of his movies. I put it on, that kind of stuff. So that was a great experience. I guess what I'd sum up about me, Jake Thorne and John Wayne, what I'd say is I've stood in John Wayne's shadow, and I've touched John Wayne's shadow. And that's about as close as I got to him. I did go to his grave. I talked to him at his grave and asked him if it was okay what I was doing. And
Oh, hang on a second. I think we lost. I think we lost him. I think we lost Jake Thorne. Hang on a second. We're trying to get him back. We're trying to get him back. I think we lost him for a second. So stay tuned for the ones listening or watching. We lost Jake, but we'll get him back if possible. But until the meantime, and we wait. So until the meantime, and we wait and see if he comes back or if we have to do something else. But I was going through, and while we wait to see if he comes back, and there's some good questions in the YouTube chat. Some very good questions. Let's see if Jake comes back, and we'll see where it goes from there. So for the people in the YouTube chat, which you guys get to see this technical difficulty live, and the people that's watching or listening when this drops, people will get to hear it and see it Monday. So while we wait for Jake to come back, if he comes back, then we'll pick up where we left off and keep the ball rolling as usual. So let's see. There's really nobody in the chat right now. We got a few people in the chat. 3 people's watching, and for those who are just tuning in, we have a little technical problems with Jake's end. He kind of cut off, and we'll wait to see if he comes back. That's, and this and that and all of that, and this is what a technical difficulty problem looks like. So we wait to see if he comes back. If not, then we'll move on to our next guest come next Monday. Oh, and he's back. Okay, let's see here.
Where'd you go?
Oh, there you are.
Now, Jacob, that black spot is where you put all your commercials.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And I hope everybody had a chance to go get a drink or something.
Oh yeah,
I'm glad.
oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, was another question is, and was how question is, and how long did it take you to perfect the John Wayne walk?
um, it well, look, I read a lot about it, and there was an actor named Paul Fix who supposedly taught him how to walk that way, and so there were through the years there were different clues to do it, and I'll tell you what, all those people out there who want to walk like John Wayne, you point your toes down, and when you touch, your toe hits first. And in my play, I talk about that walk, and I say it's an old family secret. But he was joking when he did that, and I'm joking when I say that. You just got to look in the mirror and watch your John Wayne movies. You hold your elbows up out, and you hold your hands a certain way, and you walk. A lot of people imitate it. A lot of people they don't get it, and mine, I try to be subtle. And the same thing with my voice. I'm not trying to talk like John Wayne. I just try to talk deeper and slower. In fact, the Duke said he learned how to talk from a stunt man. He said, I noticed when it's Yakima Canuck, when Yak talks, he talks slow and he lowers his voice. And that's how I try to say my lines. And that's what the Duke said, and that's how I try to say my lines. Low, slow, and deliberate. So that's how you walk. Anyway, you got to watch the movies. That'll be the secret. And point your toes a little bit, and you walk with determination. If you ever see the Duke walking, it's like, get out of the way kind of thing.
All right, the next
I
question.
hope that answer.
Yeah, it was a good answer, yeah. The next question says, and what are your plans for the future, and will you be touring soon with the one-man shows? If so, where?
All right, Jacob. You'll be the first one to know. I'll tell you, Mrs. Thorne isn't very happy about me going around the country because I'm gone for a week. I'm pretty tense before I leave, and I'm pretty tired when I get back, and so she's not really happy about that. So what I've done to counteract that is I am going to do it reading. If anybody out there knows Prairie Home Companion, what that's like, it's like a radio show, but they have sound effects. And when I was first doing this play, that's how I did it. I had a little podium, and I was dressed, and I had props, but I just used the script. It makes it a lot easier. So what I'm going to do is readings, and who knows, maybe I'll come up there and do a kind of a show, a reading for your people up there. If you get enough people.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I want to say, one of the interviews I had with Jacob, he said, Jake, how much money do you make doing this? Well, it's all the time different, and because even if I do it free, it costs me time, money, and effort to do it free. And what I say to people is, I don't do John Wayne to make money. I make money so that I can do John Wayne. It's an expensive thing, and another thing about these readings, I'm thinking about, I'm going to do it to raise money for different things, for different charities. I also have a plan to raise money for scholarships for people who are interested in film, television, and theater. So that's kind of the thing that I'm working on. So Jacob will be the first to know, and he'll let you all know.
Oh, yeah.
But there will be some in Mount Airy, and there will be some in other places.
Well, the next question, which I think I know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyways here in the chat. Somebody says, so when you talk, do you sometimes catch yourself talking like John Wayne instead of your normal voice in real life?
That's a really good question. It's kind of a mix. The first time I did my show out in California, a good friend of mine's daughter was there, and I was sitting after the show. I was sitting there BSing with these other guys, and she whispered in her dad's ear, "He sounds like John Wayne even now." And there's kind of a crossover. Yeah, I've done it for so long that I can just slip into it. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes not. I did a Civil War play, and one of the people commented, "He sounds like John Wayne." And I usually have pretty good control over it, but when I'm tired, the Duke kind of creeps in there and starts taking over for me. So I have to be really careful, Jacob, because I can't just be really direct with people, because they get defensive and they think I'm, mad, or they think I'm trying to be mean or something. So I kind of have to talk softly, because it's a powerful thing.
All right, the next question is, and what is one quality and that you admired most in John Wayne?
Oh, who is that person?
Um,
I want to hire them.
yeah.
I want to hire them. Tell them the job. I need.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what is one quality I admire about John
Yeah.
Wayne? And I would have to say his love for America. He loved America, and he was a patriot. And I'll tell you what, folks, in this day and age, they're always trying to put somebody down. They're always trying to accuse anybody, and the Duke for lots of things. And with my lifetime of studying him, he was the real deal. And if he said something that kind of sounded racist or something like that, it's what I call breathing the air of the times. If you go back to 1970 or something like that, that's how everybody talked. One thing, he was straight up with everybody he met and worked with. Didn't matter what color they were. Didn't matter if they were Indians. Didn't matter if they liked him or not. He was really fair too. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. The next question, which I think you've already answered this one. The question is, and have you ever been in a movie? If so, which one?
Funny you should ask. Okay, yeah. I've been in a couple, and that's a really good topic, because I'm kind of hinting that Mrs. Thorne doesn't want me to do my show because it's too hard. But you want to know what she says? Movies are okay. She just doesn't want me to do the play. If you write these down, you're not going to remember them. So people back home, write these down. First movie I was in was called State of Play. State of Play. And some of you might know it, but it's a pretty tricky title. I stumbled into that. I was about ready to move down here, and I was walking the dog, and there was these free newspapers that they were putting at everybody's, they were trying to get people to buy these newspapers, so they were giving them out free. Well, it said, movie extras wanted for political thriller, and I said, oh, that's cool, and then I got into it, and it was really cool. I had worked up in Washington, so I knew how they dress. So I showed up in as an extra. It was like standing in line to go see a movie, not like trying to get into a movie. But I knew how to dress, and it's like they take a mugshot of you. You hold up a card that has your name on it, and they're looking for a look. And I guess I look good, and so I played a congressman in State of Play. And I struck it rich. Ben Affleck, Russell Crowe, Helen Mirren, Rachel McAdams. Looks like I lost you. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, I just lost video. Anyway, Rachel McAdams, Jeff Daniels, Jason Bateman, Robin Wright Penn, and me were in it. The problem is, movies are hard on your face because lots of times your face hits the editing room floor. But I played a congressman. There's a scene where Ben Affleck is in a committee hearing, and I'm the third guy on the left. It kind of looks like The Last Supper with him in the middle. If you count 3 over, I'm that guy. And then during the meeting, I'm in the background. So not bad. I got 1/10,000th of the budget. It was a $60 million movie, so I made $600 for 3 days. So that wasn't too shabby. The next one was The Fifth Quarter. Andy McDowell and Aidan Quinn were in it. It's a tearjerker about Wake Forest, and it's a football story. So I was in that, but that one I just played, an extra. But I think there might be more out there. And when I first got into this business, this talent person said, acting is something you can do until the day you die. Still there, Jacob?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still here.
All right. Can you see my face?
Yeah.
I can't see yours. All right. But anyway, I think there's more movies in the future. I'm kind of freed up, and I'd like to do that. I don't know if anybody's seen The Preacher, one of the networks have the show Preacher, and the Preacher's hero is JohnWayne. They wanted me to do that, but I was in the middle of directing a play, so I just had to say no. I would have loved to do that. So something like that, I'm sure something like that will come along again.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. The next question is, and does your wife and family have a hard time trying to get you away from the John Wayne character in like everyday life?
No, I'll tell you what. You heard me say my name, Dan Hornack. That's all right. Dan Hornack does the dishes and takes out the garbage. All right. Jake Thorne, he doesn't do any of that stuff. But guess what? I got to live here and beat Dan Hornack. When it comes up and when people call and ask for Jake, I know what they're talking about. Okay. But most of the time I'm here trying to take care of this place.
All right. The next question is, and what's the story behind your sauce?
Oh, how'd they find out about that? Oh, I guess on the website. What's the story? Well, it's good on anything, and thank you for this opportunity to do a commercial. Let's pretend this is a bottle of camp. Howdy, folks. My campfire sauce is a Southwest smoky blend. It's good on steak, eggs, fried potatoes, cooked greens, just about anything. I use it at home, on the road, on the trail, and on location across America. It's, like I say, it's good on steak. If you get a pool of ketchup and put 6 drops of that in there, you got a good steak sauce. It's good on macaroni and cheese. It's good on cheeseburgers. It's good on salmon cakes. Some people still eat salmon cakes. It's good on that. And I'll tell you, it ain't bragging if it's true. It almost tastes like steak when you put it on salmon cakes. You got to try that. Get your mom to make you some salmon cakes there, Jacob.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It's been doing that for years, and it's just a fun little product, and it's been sold in California. It's been sold in Virginia and down in Florida and Colorado. So I'm trying to get it into a movie because then people might see it and might want to buy it that way. But I haven't heard any bad things about it except from a couple little old ladies, and they said it was too hot. It's not a hot sauce. It's a campfire sauce. It's got a little heat to it. But, as you get older, you don't necessarily want a lot of heat. Now, Jacob, I can tell you like hot sauce.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
If you look at my website, I got a place, the home of Jake Thorne's campfire sauce. It's I call it Mom's because it says the name of the store is Mayberry, Maine, which spell, and they sell all kinds of hot sauce there. But my bottle's in there too. So come on down. They'll have them call me up. Maybe I'll come visit you. Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. The next one is, and what inspired you to do John Wayne? I think we covered that, but if you want to talk it again, then you can.
Well, in a couple sentences, hey, there are certain movie stars that I liked, and I'll tell you what, I really was a big fan of Errol Flynn. Remember Adventures of Robin Hood and all that? But the thing is Errol Flynn wasn't a great person, and he became an alcoholic. He died when he was 50, and he didn't care about other people. I'll tell you what I've learned about the Duke is the Duke really cared about other people. And if you were a young actor next to him, he'd help you. He would help you. He wasn't all for himself. He was all for everybody. And, the other thing about this, doesn't it seem, well, maybe not now, but a lot of people wanted to be John Wayne. You want to know something? John Wayne wanted to be like a lot of people. So I hope that answers it.
Yeah, the next question says, are you an Elvis fan? Have you ever been to Graceland? And do you think Elvis would have been able to play John Wayne in like a major motion picture?
Well, all good questions. No, I haven't. My wife's a real big Elvis fan. I got room in my heart for Elvis, but a lot of Duke is in there too. I think Elvis would be good playing one of the Duke's sons. There's a lot of, Rio Bravo, Ricky Nelson, who was a contemporary for Elvis. He was, he played a gunslinger in there, and Elvis has done some westerns. I think they'd be great together. I really do. That's kind of a yes answer. Elvis he's his own man. There was only one Elvis.
Oh, yeah. Let's see.
A lot of imitators, though.
Oh, yeah. Let's see if there's any more questions. I think we could wait for another minute. If not, then I think that's a wrap. But which I'll wait just another minute for the questions to pop in. But yeah, hang on.
Okay, well let's give them a minute. But before we go, I want to thank everybody because those are really good questions. You didn't stump me, but you made me think. Also, I want you to tell me how to get on YouTube so that I can see your other interviews, so that I can be one of your followers there, Jacob.
Oh yeah.
Before we go, you tell me how to do it. Maybe somebody else will do it too. All right. Was that another question that came in?
No, that was a text message coming through, so it wasn't a question. But yeah, it's on YouTube. It's easy to find me on YouTube.
Okay. What do I do?
Would you go to youtube.com and you type in Conversations with Jacob? It should pop up.
Yeah. And so how do I become a follower? Will that make me a follower?
Would you have to go to my channel and subscribe?
Holy crap. Well, you need to start up to tell me how to do that. How do I go to your channel, Jacob?
I can send you a link through Facebook or email to it.
Well, then you ought to get all those other people sending them links too.
Yeah, but yeah, matter of fact, we're on YouTube and we're on about 20 different podcasting sites.
Okay.
So that's a big thing.
That's a good thing. Now, I also wanted to tell you, Jacob, that because my wife doesn't want me to go far, I've been working on building an audio studio and a video studio. So maybe someday you'll be able to sit down with me and ask me in person, and maybe we'll have some video or a podcast of you doing this too. So
oh yeah.
All I can tell you is what the Duke would tell you, and that is aim high, shoot straight, and don't quit. Okay, that goes out to everybody.
Now,
everybody.
Now, before we wrap up this interview, what would John Wayne think of things happening today?
That's a real good and a real hard question. Okay, let me tell you, he hated communists. And I can't tell the difference between Putin and a communist. Okay? So he would hate Russia. And look what Russia's doing right now. What do you think about this? I had an interview a while back about that, and basically he would grab people from both sides of the aisle, so to speak, and take them in a back room and tell them, your country's depending on both of you. You guys work this out, and don't come out till you get it worked out. But people have, they have distanced themselves. When I was in Washington, you had to work together. And you know what? This country was based on working together and compromise. It's like they say, give till it hurts. In order for things to work out, your side has to give a little and the other side has to give a little, and you have to meet in the middle. Hey, we're all Americans. Old Americans, young Americans, and new Americans. We all need to appreciate living here in America, and that's what the Duke would say right now. Okay?
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, Jake, I want to thank you for coming on the program, and hopefully we could do a part 2. Maybe this year, maybe next year, and of course, and we'll see what the future holds.
Oh, well, we all want to see what the future holds,
yeah,
and I want to say this is a time of uncertainty for everybody. You got to go with that. Maybe next time you'll see me without a beard and a mustache, without my disguise. Okay.
All right.
Anyway, I want to thank you very much, Jacob. I like what you're doing. You need to keep on doing it. That's my motto. Just keep on doing it. Keep on keeping on. And I want to thank all your viewers. They had really good questions. I wish I could meet every one of them.
All right, there you go. Well, thanks for watching the Conversations with Jacob. Tune in next Monday for episode number 5. Until then, God bless, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.